Hey, Edith.
Hey, Christy.
What did George Michael say to the gardener?
I don't know.
Rake me up before you ho-ho.
Any excuse to sing, right?
Hi, I'm Christy.
And I'm Edith. We're backyard gardeners from Colorado.
And neighbors.
And friends.
These days, gardening has gotten very popular.
And we've noticed more and more people picking our brains for tips and troubleshooting about gardening.
We're not experts. We just learned a lot about gardening from the mistakes we made along the way.
So welcome to Upside Down Tulips,
a fun podcast that celebrates gardening gone wrong.
Upside Down Tulips.
Wake me up before you ho-ho.
See, that's Luther Burbank, isn't it?
No, it's not Luther Burbank.
Hi, Christy.
Hi, Edith.
Hi, listeners.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Upside Down Tulips.
Part 51 or something. No, 26. Maybe part 26.
This is our 26th full episode.
And people are still listening.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
More people are.
More people. That's really exciting. And some of them are not even trapped in their homes. So you know they like listening, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's nice. And people have joined the garden party.
Tell me about the garden party.
Our garden party, folks, is our Patron club. So if you like listening to Upside Down Tulips and you want to support us, you can just go to our website and look at all the fabulous categories. So far, Edith, we have a total of, drumroll, 10 patrons in our garden party.
That's so great.
Isn't that nice?
And we got our first curmudgeon.
We did. Somebody did at the curmudgeon level.
Which is only $2 a month, and he sent along with such a funny email.
Yeah, it was nice.
That was a really, we just love the personal touch like that.
The first curmudgeon. We have our first lawn chair lettuce at $5 a month.
Lawn chair lettuce.
We have, the most popular is the deadheader. That's for $10 a month.
Well, deadheading, well, it's Colorado, right? So, of course, deadheads are the most popular.
Yeah, not just named after fans of the Grateful Dead, but of course we gardeners know it is one of the handiest tools to keep your flowers in bloom is to get rid of spent flowers.
And not just named because you're too high to think and your head is now dead either, right?
Yeah. And if you're a deadheader, you get our eternal gratitude, you get a handwritten note, you get access to patron-only group on Facebook and special activities, and you get a pack of curated seeds from our gardens and an Upside Down Tulips coffee mug.
That's a lot of things.
$10 a month.
That's a lot of things, folks.
And we have one attic tomato. An attic tomato gets all that, plus you get a t-shirt for $25 a month.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, so hope you consider becoming one of our patrons and joining the garden party. It sure helps support us, helps us continue doing this podcast, which we love doing.
We love it at any level. We are not even picky. Any level, folks.
Any level's just fine. And I'm wearing right now an Upside Down Tulips t-shirt.
Yes, you are.
Unlike last time when you said you were.
I was just going to say that, and then I thought she's going to call me out, so I'm not going to say anything.
And you didn't wear one. So, yeah, an Upside Down Tulips. And these are really nice quality t-shirts that you can get by going to our website. And there's sales there all the time because we partner with TeePublic, so keep an eye out. In fact, if you want to know when there is a sale on our merch, sign up for our newsletter because we'll post when the sales are happening. You know, somebody bought a mask this week.
Oh, that's reassuring. That's great.
I should get a mask. I think those would be fun to have.
Yeah. I think we're going to be wearing masks for a while, folks.
And why not have a cool Upside Down Tulips mask?
Yeah,
and
beautiful
people ask
colors,
you where you got that.
Black
the
and
colors
purple,
are pretty.
yeah, really pretty.
Anything else about merch?
I think that's all the merch I can do for one day.
Okay. We should talk about what today is. Today's Groundhog's Day.
Oh, yes, it is Groundhog's Day today.
February 2nd.
Oh, right. It's an agricultural tradition. I read a whole article about it, and that's the only thing I remember. So please, tell us.
Well, you asked me to share some information about Groundhog's Day. So did you know, Edith, that the practice came from German migrants? I thought you would find that interesting because of your German heritage.
Jawohl. Mm-hmm.
The lore was not a groundhog, but a badger that could predict the weather. And German migrants brought it over. The first official Groundhog Day in the United States was celebrated in 1887, of course, as we all know, at Gobbler's Knob, which is 2 miles outside of Puxatawny, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
The name Puxatawny comes from the Delaware Indians, which means town of the sandflies.
Oh,
Terrible.
They have a who is it? The Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce that gets people to come to town.
The town of the sandflies. Yeah. Crowds as large as 40,000 people travel to Gobbler's Knob to watch Puxatawny Phil make his prediction. When he's not predicting the weather on Groundhog Day, Phil lives in the town library in Puxatawny with his wife, Phyllis. His wife, in quotes.
Oh, that's funny.
I don't think they had a real official marriage. I think maybe they just might be living in sin.
I bet you that's the truth. Yep.
Yeah. So how many times since 1887 do you think Puxatawny Phil has predicted an early spring?
25.
16.
Wow.
How many times has Phil's weather predictions been correct?
How many times?
What percent?
33%.
Very close. 39% of the time
I was
he
just
is
guessing.
correct.
I was just guessing.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There are other cities that have prognosticating groundhogs.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Staten Island has the Staten Island Chuck.
Christy, quite the deep dive we're doing here into groundhogs.
Raleigh, North Carolina has Sir Walter Wally. Sun Prairie, Wisconsin has Jimmy the Groundhog. And Texas started its own tradition in 2010 and uses its state mammal, an armadillo, to predict the weather for Armadillo Day.
Look
and
at
his name
that.
is Bee Cave Bob.
Look at that. Those Texans always trying to secede from everybody else.
Well, maybe we'll have an early spring this year.
I'm waiting to hear about the not nematodes from last week.
Okay, yeah. So last week we talked about marigolds because we wanted to know what were the specific reasons why it's good to plant marigolds in your yard because they can get rid of pests and etc. Because the week before that we talked about marigolds and about what kind you needed. Okay, so this is the ever growing drama of why you should plant marigolds in your yard. And it's because they help prevent not nematodes, and that's not with a K.
Yeah, because when she said not nematode, you listeners like me sitting across from her probably thought, why don't you just say something other than a nematode? If it's not a nematode, why are you... I was really confused, but she didn't say it was K-N-O-T, which it was.
K-N-O-T. So now a nematode is a microscopic roundworm. Now some nematodes are considered beneficial because they parasitize the soil and they kill some insect larvae like Japanese beetles.
That's right.
Which I did that experiment last year by putting down some beneficial nematodes, hoping to kill
I was there
Japanese
too,
beetle
I
larvae.
was following you. I was
You were
actually
there.
doing anything.
And I did your yard.
And you did my yard, so
All right.
okay.
Well, a root knot nematode, what it does is it pierces the roots of certain plant species and lays their eggs inside the roots. This gives the roots a knotty appearance.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
And these nematodes affect thousands of species of plants, flowers, and vegetables. Things that I grow, things that you grow. And they can impact not only the quantity, but the quality of the vegetable or the flower. And they exist in soil in areas with hot climates or short winters. So that's a lot of places in the United States.
Yeah, that's all over Florida, I think, for one thing.
Yeah, hot climates and short winters. And the winters in Colorado, at least in the Denver metro area, are getting shorter and shorter.
Shorter and shorter,
because
man.
it is 59 degrees outside today.
And we're in here.
This may be the end of our discussion about marigolds and nematodes.
So soon? Really?
But I don't know. If you have any other questions, I will
don't
research
know.
them up again.
I am totally full of not nematode knowledge.
So plant marigolds.
There you go.
But make sure they're the French kind.
Of course. Oui.
Yeah. All right, good. And then I also have some information about Luther Burbank.
Okay, who was Luther Burbank?
Well, we talked about him last week. He was our inspiration of the week.
Yeah.
So I shared the quote from him that every gardener knows that under the cloak of winter lies a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And you were wondering if Luther Burbank was actually a jazz musician.
Yes, I thought he was a trombonist. I don't know why.
Well, I think I may know why.
Why?
Because in addition to being a botanist and a horticulturist and a pioneer in agricultural science, Luther Burbank has a performing arts center named after him in Santa Rosa, California.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. That explains
So that could be
everything.
why. I don't know why I don't know where jazz comes in, and maybe it's because of your comic career, stand-up comic career, but like the last time George Carlin performed was at the Luther Burbank Performing Arts Center.
No kidding.
So maybe that was just stuck in your head.
Maybe so.
A couple other interesting things I learned about Luther Burbank.
Okay.
Hold on to your hat because I think you'll love this.
Okay.
Well, he developed a lot of varieties and strains of vegetables and flowers, one of them being the plumcot.
No kidding. He did the plumcot?
He did.
Oh, I
Isn't
love
that great?
that.
He also developed a spineless cactus, which is used for cattle feed, and he's very well known for the variety called the Shasta daisy.
I love Shasta daisy. And do you know how genius a spineless cactus is to feed? Because then they're drinking and eating at the same time.
Luther Burbank.
Genius.
What he's most known for, though, is the russet Burbank potato, because it was invented to help with the plague in Ireland with the Great Potato Famine. And so his potato, the russet Burbank potato, is the ancestor of the Idaho russet, which is the most commonly grown potato in the world.
Wow. Well, everybody, you've just had a college-level horticultural,
That's so interesting.
Horticultural course. Very good.
Our engineer's nodding.
Well, he's
he's
laughing.
shaking his head.
He's laughing at my not being able to say horticultural. Horticultural. There you go.
Okay, I have another thing for you.
Oh, more.
I have a surprise for you.
What is it?
Okay, Edith. Now, we've been doing this podcast for 6 months, and I
Yes.
know that you hate the word moist.
I do.
And I want to tell you, it's time that you and all the other moist haters of the world find a new word to pick on.
Why?
Because there was an article in the Washington Post last week that said that we have to have the word moist because there's no other acceptable alternative.
You're kidding.
The synonyms for moist are clammy,
Oh, that's not right. No, that's not
sweaty,
Uh-huh. Mm-mm.
damp,
Mm-mm.
soggy. Like, as we know from the Great British Baking Show, no one likes a soggy bottom
Right.
their pie.
Right.
So, moist all of a sudden doesn't seem so bad.
Not
You want
at
a
all.
moist cake?
Not at all.
You want?
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Christy. Super good.
I think we need to take back the word moist.
I will, you know what? I will take it back with a very moist gratitude coming your way.
That doesn't mean you have to like the word yummy.
You're right. Oh, you're right. It
Yummy
doesn't-
can still be gone.
Thank you.
out.
And num num is even worse.
No num num.
No num num.
I will not say yes to yummy.
Thank you. Let's say yes to, however,
I
let's
will
tell
yield
everybody.
to yummy.
Thank you. What we got our golden microphone.
Yes.
We're going to post it on our Facebook page. It was because we were voted the best new podcast in Colorado. We don't know how many entrants there were. We're hoping thousands.
I bet. Must be at least.
Must be at least.
All
It's a
these people during the pandemic
Yes.
sitting in their basements
Yes.
doing a podcast.
So it's beautiful. It's really nice.
The golden microphone.
From the House of Pod. Thank you, House of Pod.
Thank you, House of Pod. Thank you, Colorado Podcast Awards. That was pretty cool.
That was very cool. It was shocking. First of all, just shocking. Yeah. But then I'm easily shocked. Maybe. Okay.
Shocking.
What are we doing next week?
We're going to continue what we're talking about this week.
If you like, we're going to talk about if you've never ever had a garden. So there you are. You have a little bit of a lawn. You've never in your life gardened. Where do you start?
From the ground up.
From the ground up.
So
There
today
you
we're talking
go.
about location and soil preparation. And then next week, we're going to continue from the ground up.
That's right. So keep listening.
But it'll be even good if you already have a garden.
Yeah, because, we do, as you just heard about the deep dive that Christy takes into many things, we have a lot of research to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it? I think we're good.
I think we're good.
So, Edith,
Yes.
how's your garden?
Dead. We did have
Resting.
snow.
Resting.
It's resting. It's resting. It was resting under a cloak of snow, but now the snow's all melted because it's so warm today. I have an article, however, that I found that tells why people, another reason to garden.
Ooh.
Listen to this. Gardeners in Hampshire, a county in southeast England, found 63 gold coins and 1 silver coin from King Henry VIII's reign in the 16th century. So people that have never gardened are digging,
Oh,
and
my
they're
goodness.
finding
Buried treasure.
Listen to this. The archaeological find was one of the more than 47,000 in England and Wales that were reported this year amid an increase of backyard gardening during coronavirus lockdowns.
That's so fun.
In another discovery, gardeners found 50 solid gold South African Krugerrand coins that were minted in the 1970s during apartheid.
Okay, well, I have a story to tell you.
Okay.
So I last year, as I was gardening, I found a coin, and it looked strange to me. It did not look like anything, and I got really excited.
Yeah.
And I brought it in, and I washed it off, and I put it in some sort of solution to clear it all up, thinking I have found a rare coin.
Uh-huh. And
It was a quarter from 1972. But I have found weird things in the garden before.
I have found old bottles like they never make in, like little tiny medicine bottles. Remember when they made the thick glass?
Yes, they're so pretty.
I found a lot of them.
That's weird.
I found the carcass of a dog.
I have found a skull of a cat.
People bury stuff out there. Our neighbors that predeceased us.
I found little plastic toys that must have been from like the 50s or 60s.
Oh, wow.
So I just imagine like some little kid was out there playing and his
Yep.
toy got...
Yep. Just another reason to garden, folks, especially if you're morbid.
You never know. You might find... Yes, right. Dead bodies.
You could find anything. I mean, we're hoping to find money. We will continue to hope to find money. Okay?
That's awesome. So for my garden this week, I did something strange to my family back in Minnesota and to our northern friends.
You did something strange to them?
That would seem strange.
Oh, okay. That would seem strange. Okay.
Yes. I watered my lawn and my gardens in January.
Okay.
It had been so dry out here without any snow cover. And so I always kind of look at the calendar and keep track of when the last snow cover was or when the last rain was. And it had been well over 2 weeks. So I dragged out my hose. It was in the 40s, and I watered the front and the back.
Good thinking. Good thinking.
Get everything a
Christy.
soak. So depending on where you live, folks,
Yeah.
think about you might need to still water, especially for our trees.
Especially the trees. Yeah.
If you care about your trees, just stick the hose out there for a couple hours on a nice slow drip.
Yeah, we're way down in snowpack. We've had so little snow here. So Colorado, what do we call it? The front? What are we, the front?
The front door.
No, the
The front range.
Yes, the front
Okay.
range. Gosh.
I'm so tired.
Yeah, we're on the front range. We had not had a lot of snow, so water. There you go.
Yeah, and so check your area to see. And if you have a nice day that's in the 40s or 50s, bring that hose out.
Yep, do it.
And I also did some winter sowing.
Oh my gosh, I saw I saw when I walked through your backyard coming down here. It looks fantastic.
So I did about, I don't know, maybe like 18 or so
Yeah, you did a lot.
jugs of perennial flowers. And this is a form of how to start seeds outside in the winter in milk jugs or some other type of plastic container.
Stuff you already have. You have to buy nothing except maybe the soil. Look, I'm using the word soil again.
I'm so proud of you, Edith.
Thank you. I've gotten very professional. Anyway, that's all you have to buy. You may even have that in your garage. So,
And I sowed perennial flowers. So I did delphinium and foxglove and coreopsis and pansies and columbine and ice plant.
the stuff that can survive even no matter how cold it gets. So she didn't plant everything yet, just those perennials. See how much I learned from you last week?
And if you want to know more about winter sowing, just check out last week's episode 25, which is Take Out Your Jugs and Learn How to Winter Sow.
You'll learn everything. There you go.
And I have a present for you.
You do?
What we were talking about how there's so many different types of containers you can have.
Yes.
And just the last week, as I was living my life, I have 3 containers for you to winter sow in.
Thank you. Let's see here.
The first one is a plastic, like a 2-liter bottle that had apple cider in it.
Oh, that's perfect.
Had apple juice bottle.
Perfect,
Okay.
Christy. Yeah.
And then I have a to-go container so it's a styrofoam container that maybe, I don't know, like a 2, maybe it's 2 pint or a pint, you think? And it has a transparent plastic lid.
Okay.
Put holes in the top and holes in the bottom.
Holes in the top, holes in the bottom. It's okay that it's not translucent all the way around.
As long as it is on the top.
Okay.
And then here is just a deli container. A little container like that. So if you want to, we can winter sow some stuff with you this weekend, huh?
Very excellent. Yes,
So-
yes, let's do it.
And have you been saving some things in your house already, or?
I have.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So, ooh, sorry, that was so noisy. That was my garden update. So, folks, if you hear words or terms that you're not familiar with, or you want a good laugh, you should check out the Upside Down Dictionary on our website. And if you want to see pictures of our gardens, or what else, Edith?
If you want to be inspired or jokes, maybe you want jokes, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.
Yes, in fact, if you want to see a picture of Edith's composting experiment, her fermented
My bokashi.
bokashi, that went up on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, it doesn't stink, but it looks really weird.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it looks really awful, doesn't it?
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
And we're back. You're listening to Ask Agnes, the Helpful Gardening Show. Agnes takes the agony out of gardening. And it looks like we have a caller from Lakewood, Colorado. Hello, caller.
Hi, this is Marcia, longtime listener, first-time caller.
Welcome to the show, Marcia. How can I help you?
I'm a first-time gardener. So, I planted carrots last summer, and they came up. All of them.
That's good to hear. So what's the problem, dear?
Well, when I dug them up in the fall, they were just the size of a thick toothpick. They were more like carrot suggestions than an actual vegetable.
Ah, let me ask you, Marcia, did you thin the carrots?
No. I know you're supposed to, but I just couldn't.
You couldn't?
No, I couldn't. I had planted them, watered and weeded them, and then I'm supposed to get rid of them? It's agonizing, Agnes.
Gardeners learn how to let things go, Marcia. Let it go. Like Patrick Mahomes with a football that's on fire. Like the idea that anybody who wins NBC's The Voice is ever going to be a star. Like the idea that we need more guns and car crashes in our entertainment.
What? What?
Oh, I'm sorry. I also teach creative writing at a nearby community college. Let me put it to you this way. Are you married?
Yes?
What if all your past boyfriends were still hanging around? In your garage, in the attic, and in your spare room?
Oh, I don't know if my husband would forgive that.
No, Marcia, I'm not suggesting you stash old boyfriends. You can't have old boyfriends hanging around, so you thin the herd, as it were. You can also do that with root vegetables. And you know what's good about thinning carrots, besides growing decent-sized carrots? You can eat the ones you thin, both the green tops and the tiny carrots.
That sounds good. Maybe that's what I should do. Thank you, Agnes. I was ready to give up gardening.
Don't give up, Marcia. Unlike a husband with his wife's stashed boyfriends, if you make a mistake, your garden will forgive you. And that's all the time we have. Goodbye, gardeners. Grow something.
Hi, we're back. We haven't said that in a really long time, and I was determined to say we're back. Hi, Christy.
Hi.
So what we're talking about today is Gardening 101, and we're going to start with location of your garden. So there you are. All you have is lawn or gravel or whatever. Where do you put your garden? Say you have a lawn. Christy, how do you have to rip it out, correct?
Yes. Yeah, there are a couple ways you can do it. The one that is the most labor intensive is to dig it up.
I did that. That's what I did.
I've done that.
But I didn't water it for months, and the neighbors got so mad at me. I have to explain to them, I'm not a bad homeowner. That was my first home, by myself.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not a bad homeowner. I'm going to rip this all out. Some of them
It's a lot of
applauded
work,
me.
but it's
Yeah.
worth it. What really helps to help it go quicker is to make sure you water that lawn. Get that grass really soaked up, and that'll help.
That's right. You
Then dig
try
it
to
up.
kill it. You try to kill it. So because if you don't, it'll just keep trying to grow. So I tried to kill it, then I watered it, and then I dug it up.
Dig it up.
That's what I did. Yeah.
The other thing you can do is you can, which I've done, it's just a very labor intensive. You can also till it under.
Yeah.
I've done that also.
Yeah.
And what the nice thing about tilling it is that the organic matter is retained from the grass, and so that just all feeds into the soil. And you'll get grass coming back up. You just gotta kind of stay on it and just pull it out.
That's why I didn't do it. So when I had the pretty much dead sod, I threw that on my compost pile. So I did not put it back in the ground until later, until it had composted.
Yeah, and compost it, yes. And with both of those, what's nice is that you can plant right away.
Yes, you can plant right away. As soon as it's out, you can start. That's right.
The other thing you can do is you can smother it, which is to put plastic or some organic matter like newspapers or cardboard.
Yeah. But if you do that, your neighbors are going to complain about the screaming. So I don't know about that.
Smothering. And you can also plant right. You can also plant right away with that. It just takes a long time to get the grass to go to heaven.
When we say plant right away, don't start doing that this second. Wait until you hear us talk about part 2, which is amending the soil.
Yes.
Which is probably a better thing to do. So
Right.
literally right away.
But you don't have to wait for the soil. You don't have to wait for the grass to die.
Right,
Which is what you have to do if you smother it.
Yeah.
And then the last way to do it, which we don't recommend, but I think we should talk about it anyways, is to use herbicides,
Don't do it.
which will kill the grass quickly, but it's really unclear, or it is pretty clear what else it will do, which is to wreck your soil and it will get into the groundwater.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I just know that I think it was Einstein that said matter cannot be destroyed. I suppose it can be transformed, but if it starts off as a poisonous herbicide, it can't get pure and good from there.
And
That's all.
There's 3 other great ways to do it, to get rid of sections of your lawn.
Yeah.
And then what I do is that, I have a lawn, folks, and I, every year though, I think my gardens grow a little bit more. I just kind of eke out more lawn every year.
That's the nice way to do it. That's a really good way to do it. Yeah.
Section by section.
Okay, so there you have it. So now you have ripped out the lawn. However, what we have not talked about is, for example, where you should choose to rip out the lawn.
Yeah.
What part of
Yeah.
one of the things that you want to think about, especially if you've never gardened before. You don't want to be overwhelmed. Because it is work. It's a lot of work. And most people work during the day. For example, water accessibility.
Such a great point.
Right? So don't be, I don't know if you have a back 40, probably not. You're probably an urban gardener. But, don't have a little short hose and then put it at the very back of your garden or get it. Just make sure it's water accessible.
Which is one of the challenges I have in my yard.
Yeah.
Because my vegetable garden is way on the other side, and I have to lug a big hose out there all the time to water. But I also have a drip system, so I can just plug it in, so it'll be a little easier. But I do
that's
a lot
good.
of hose dragging.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Number 2, do you have children and or pets? Now, you have to think about where to put the garden, because if you put it smack in the middle and the kids want to play soccer, that's not going to work, right?
Right, yeah. Or dogs.
Or dogs. I mean, dogs will. So you want to put it maybe away to the side somewhere. You want to think about, here's something I think about when I planted my fruit trees, squirrel accessibility.
Yeah.
In other words, I had a tree that was there when I moved in, and it grew enough so that it overhung the garage, and it overhung my neighbor's garage. So the squirrels could jump from the tree to the roof of the garage to my tree, grab stuff.
Oh,
and
terrible.
They never had to hit the ground.
Wow.
So they got,
You made it for them without realizing it.
without realizing it, yeah. So I think about squirrel accessibility as well. Christy, let's talk about the amount of sunlight.
Oh, that's so important. If you do a vegetable garden, you need it to be in full sun,
Which
which
means
is 6 to 10.
6 to 10 hours every day. I mean, that doesn't mean if you're going to have a cloudy day, it'll die, but light,
A lot of sun.
super important, especially if you're doing tomatoes.
Yeah.
They even like more than 6 hours.
Now, the good news is, though, is that if you're doing flowers, you have a lot of flexibility. Sometimes plants will say it wants to be in partial sun. Well, that's 4 to 6 hours a day. So that's not so bad. Sometimes a plant will say it wants partial shade. That's 2 to 4 hours of sun a day.
Could that be filtered sunlight through a tree?
Yes,
or is that
exactly
shade?
right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, shade in gardening terms means less than 2 hours.
Wow, so that really is deep under a tree.
But think about that. If you have less than 2 hours of sun, there's a lot of plants you can have still.
They really are, yeah.
And
Beautiful
don't forget that
stuff.
your trees can grow.
And they will.
And create more shade. So I've had that happen. I've been in my house now for 20 years, and I've had to change things and alter things slightly because this tree has grown. This tree I took out, which has totally changed everything I can grow underneath it.
Yeah. Another thing you want to consider, especially if you want to grow things that vine, like peas or cucumbers, shelter from the wind.
Yeah.
If you put them smack in the middle, there's no shelter. So it's smart to shelter them a little bit.
Have you heard, though, Edith, that you also need to have like a sweet spot, too? Because plants still need to breathe.
They need air circulation.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. So you don't want to smack them right up a fence. Some plant, like I have my grapes are on a fence, a chain link.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't want to, like peas or cucumbers, smack them right up against the fence.
Some plants need airflow, and the airflow will help prevent different types of mold and mildew from forming.
And maybe keep out some of those white flies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because if the air's just sitting there, then that makes them happy.
Yeah.
They're like tanning themselves. Woo!
It's just kind of like people. Think about what you would like if you're out there. You want some airflow, but you don't want to be windy.
You want a light breeze.
You want some water by you, and you want to be in the sun.
There you are.
And sometimes you want shade.
You're in the Bahamas on the beach.
Yeah.
Perfect, Christy. Love the analogy. Think about what you want to grow. If you like winter squash, that's stuff like spaghetti squash, butternut and whatever, and you have a small garden, that is the only thing you're going to fit, most likely. So think about that.
And what you like to eat.
Even more what you like to eat. Yeah.
I've grown stuff I don't like to eat. Why am I growing this? I have no idea. What a waste of time and energy.
Sometimes we grow stuff because it looks pretty.
Yeah. I tried to grow okra once. I don't really like okra.
I did too, and I don't like okra either.
What was I doing?
I wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
I love the experiments. Anything else that we should think about? Think about the size of the garden. If you're a first-time gardener.
Start small.
Yeah, start small. Because
don't kill yourself.
We don't want you to get discouraged.
Yeah, just start something. You know what? And even just grow in a little container too. If you have a balcony, maybe that's your location is your balcony, then start with some pots.
Speaking of pots, if you have little kids, that's a bad segue. Speaking of little kids, why not give them a little part of the garden? And if they grow something, they will learn to love vegetables and eat vegetables. So just give them like a row of beans or something that are almost foolproof.
It's so magical.
It is so magical.
Did you ever
to
do
them,
that in elementary school? They gave you a little styrofoam cup and some soil and a bean.
And a bean,
so remember that.
Yes.
And it grows.
Yeah. And you learn about putting it in a south-facing window versus a north. You learn right away. Yeah.
Location, location, location.
There you go.
And we're back. You're listening to Ask Agnes, a helpful gardening show. Agnes takes the agony out of gardening. And it looks like we have a caller from Virginia. Hello, caller.
Hi, Agnes. This is Uta. First-time gardener, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome to the show, Uta. How can I help you?
I'm afraid to garden ever again, Agnes. I just might throw in the trowel.
Oh, dear. What happened?
Last year, I grew my own seedlings, transplanted them in the garden according to the last frost chart for my zone, and then watered and mulched them. And they all died. Every single one dead.
Oh, no. When exactly did they die?
I'm not sure, 'cause I couldn't see them.
You couldn't see them.
No, they were under the protective layer of mulch that I had applied.
How deep was this mulch layer?
About knee-high.
And exactly how tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
So you applied roughly 1.5 feet of mulch?
Yes, I figured if a little is good, then more is better. How could that be wrong?
Let me put it this way. Remember the story of the princess and the pea?
Yes, where the princess slept on about 20 mattresses and you could still feel the pea under the first mattress?
That's the one. Now imagine if they had put the mattresses on top of her. Would she still be able to get up to eat or get a drink of water?
No, she wouldn't. She'd be in the dark and she'd be squashed and flattened.
Yes, squashed and flattened. Flattened like a piece of cheap paper. And she's a full-grown, very well-fed princess. So do you see that's what can happen to our young and tender seedlings with too much mulch?
Oh, I feel terrible.
They're as flattened and lifeless as weak old glass of soda left out in the sun. As flat as an Egyptian bedsheet with a thread count of 2. As flat as a...
Please stop. If you keep going on, I'm going to need therapy.
I'm sorry. I also teach creative writing at a nearby community college, and perhaps I got carried away. Hopefully I've made my point.
You have. Don't overdo the mulch. And maybe leave some room between the mulch and the seedling?
Exactly, Uta. You get an A+ for today.
Oh, thank you. I'm very competitive, and I'm not used to failing.
Remember what we say in gardening, Uta. If you're not killing something, you're not stretching yourself as a gardener.
And if I do kill something, the garden will forgive me, right?
Of course it will. It's a garden, not a judgmental human being. That's all the time we have for today. Goodbye, gardeners.
Bye.
Are we on? Yeah, I know we are. I wanted to make you laugh.
You did. That's just because we were having a big conversation and he just goes, are we on? It's like, no, we're not on yet, but now we're on. And now we're going to continue talking about Gardening 101. So we talked about location.
And the one thing we didn't say was you probably would like to start with a level or flat area.
Yes,
right?
It just makes things easier because you won't have as much soil erosion. It'll be easier to keep water there. It's easier for you to, get up and get down. Though I have sections of my flower beds that can be hilly and rolly, but for vegetables, it's just a lot easier to have level.
It is. And some people like the level because they're going to put, what do you call it? The raised gardens in.
Yes.
Easier when it's level.
And that's why a lot of people also with flower gardens will terrace them. If you have a hill, you could terrace it so you have level. It's easier.
They do that with wine too.
They terrace the wine? Mm-hmm. I did not know.
I might be making it up.
You mean like
really
grapevines?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
that
I
makes
think
sense.
they do. I might be making it up, but I think I've seen pictures of hillsides in Italy.
Yeah.
Beautifully terraced hillsides.
Oh, sure.
With wine, with vineyards.
Yes. That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to talk about what do you do with the soil?
Yes. Which, you can call it dirt if it makes you feel better.
What do you do with the dirt? Because dirt's not just dirt, right? There's 3 kinds, and you kind of need to know what kind you have. Is it clay? Mm-hmm. Is it sandy? Mm-hmm. Or is it loamy?
I have the first 2. And sometimes within feet of each other.
That's so true. That is true.
My front yard is very sandy, and my backyard will be more clay. And, Edith and we live a couple blocks away from each other. I have often wondered, if your soil is different than my soil.
Well, my soil when I first moved in was very clay. It was very, very thick, and when it got wet and you put it in your hand, it would go like a snowball.
But we get that red clay.
We do. There is actually, how do you know? There's a couple different ways to find out what kind of soil you have. You can take it to your agricultural extension at the university. Mm-hmm. Don't you have a little tiny soil test in your kitchen?
In fact, I have one. I bought it when I moved into this house 20 years ago, and the price on it was $3.49.
Yeah.
And I still haven't used it to this day. I have never done a soil test ever. This is the year I'm going to do one because this podcast has inspired me.
Well, to be honest with you, I have not either. However,
good. We're just letting all our embarrassing shame. I bet you there are people out there listening that are just like, they just gasp. They went, oh, she's never done a soil test.
We told them from the beginning that we were experimenting, that we were not experts.
That's right.
We covered our butts.
We've got a pass forever. We are not
from
experts.
the beginning.
But
So
we learned through failure, the failure of never doing a soil test.
you can do a homemade soil test with stuff you already have in your home. And I did it. And Christy, I sent you a picture of the jar.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, so here's what you do. You get some soil, you put it in a jar. Fill the jar 1/3 full of the soil you want to test. You fill the remainder of the jar with clean water, leave some space at the top. Then get a tablespoon of powdered dishwashing detergent, put that in there.
That's why you borrowed it from me last week.
That is exactly why.
Okay.
I do not have a dishwasher. So then cap the jar and shake it vigorously until it turns into a slurry. You know, a uniform slurry. Put it on a level surface. Time for 1 minute. The sand goes straight to the bottom. You can see it. You can see it. Mark it. So mark it so you know where the sand is. Then leave the jar in the same level spot for 2 hours. What happens then is the silt will show itself. It'll be sand on the bottom, silt on top of it. Mark the top of the silt, okay? Then you leave the jar for 48 hours. Mark the top of the next layer. This is the clay layer that is settled on top of the silt layer. Use a ruler, measure the height of each layer and the total height of all 3 layers. You then know the percentage of sand, silt, and what you should have is an equal parts of each.
That's amazing.
And then we refer to that as loamy. That's loam. That's what we want in our gardens.
Equal parts.
Equal part, as close as it can get. It doesn't have to be exact.
And then when you know that, then you know what you need to add in.
Exactly, because you don't want to add, if you have sandy soil, the last thing you want to do, right, is add any kind of sand to loosen it up. It's already a little bit too loose. Okay.
That's incredible. I can't wait to do that because I can do it at all different parts of my yard.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see, well, over here, it's kind of loamy, but over here, it's really sandy.
Now, is there a way also to cheaply test your pH level?
There is. You want me to hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Am I jumping out of?
No,
turn?
we're good.
Okay.
No, we're good. It's called the pantry pH test because some plants like acidity, some plants like
Alkaline.
Alkalinity. Place 2 tablespoons of soil in a bowl and add 1/2 cup of vinegar. If it fizzes, you have alkaline soil. Place 2 tablespoons of soil in a bowl and moisten it with distilled water. Add 1/2 cup baking soda. If it fizzes, you have acidic.
That's amazing. What can vinegar not do?
It can do everything. Literally every single thing.
And I'm really proud you said the word moist.
Oh my gosh, did I?
Yes, you did.
I said moisten. Moisten. You're right. There's no other word for it. You're right.
Moist.
Thank you. I'm going to get over my thing about that. I really will. If it does not react to either test, the soil has a neutral pH, which is what we're going for. We like it to be as neutral as possible because, like we said, like perennials, I think like more acidic. Vegetables like more alkaline or neutral pH is what we're headed for. Okay.
That's amazing. And like some flowers, like even more, like I know, like hydrangeas need a lot of alkaline in it.
See how you know these things? See, these things are amazing to know. I had no idea. Also, I read that microbial activity is greatest and plant roots absorb and access nutrients the best when the pH is in the 5.5 to 7 range.
That's good to know.
Isn't that good to know? And folks, up on our website will be both of these soil tests because nobody expected you to memorize them or take notes. That would be cruel.
In fact, we have quite a few other little blogs on our website that you can check out.
We do. They're informative yet amusing. Okay, so what do we amend the soil with?
Yes.
Say we know what it is.
Yeah.
Compost.
Compost does a lot of things.
You know what, folks? Wherever you are, if it's still winter, it is not too early to begin composting. You can do it today.
And you can check out our episode on compost. I think it's episode 11. Is that right?
Oh, it was a good episode. I don't remember
It's
what
called
number.
Compost Happens.
Yeah, compost happens. And it's very informative. It's a good one, indeed. Oh, this is interesting. You know, my sister who lives in D.C., my sister Norris, she had a compost in the backyard. She lives a block away from Restaurant Row in D.C., and when the restaurants shut down, the rats of the city lost their food source and started moving out into her neighborhood.
Yeah, I've heard that. I have heard that has been a challenge where we live too, Edith.
Really?
Yes, an increase of rats.
Well, I'm really glad that I have an enclosed compost. So if you don't like rats, and not all that many people do, well, unless it's Melchizedek, right? From some play. A Little Princess.
Oh, yes.
Melchizedek the rat.
Yes.
Anyway, if you don't like rats, think about getting an enclosed compost so you don't attract rats everywhere.
What else can you put? How else can you amend the soil? Compost?
Compost. You can buy soil amendments in a bag.
Uh-huh. Do you use peat?
I do use peat. I use peat because peat loosens up the clay.
Now, we want to clarify, we're not talking about P-E-T-E, our friend Pete. We're talking
Christy, I was.
Oh, you use peat?
Yes, I use. Who doesn't use peat?
Chop off his toes, sprinkle him in the flower garden.
Yeah,
Chop
you're
off
right.
his fingers.
P-H-P-E-A-T.
Yes.
Peat moss.
And people are getting different points of view about peat, though, aren't they?
I've heard that we're running out of peat.
Most
right?
of the peat in the United States comes from the great bogs of Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But it also causes a lot of carbon dioxide and can contribute to global warming. So that people are looking for alternatives to peat.
Well, the other thing that I did, I mean, when I first started the garden was I also bought, I bought manure in bags. I bought sheep.
I've done that before.
And remember,
in the bag that's already been cured and processed in some way.
Yeah.
So it actually looks like a type of soil.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't have all the harsh, I don't know.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
stink.
Doesn't stink.
It doesn't. There's no
So don't put
no
fresh.
E. coli
That's
danger
what it is, right.
at all.
So don't put fresh down.
Yeah, don't put fresh. To be
But
safe,
it's so
go and
cheap,
get a bag.
and they're so cheap. You can get a big bag for like $1.
Now, listen, we're running out of time here, but if we're not done discussing dirt/soil peat, we're going to pick this up next week.
Right, because there's a lot to talk about gardening from the ground up. That just means you got to come back for part 2.
That's right. That's right. Come back for part 2, everybody, because this has been fun. And you got to know this stuff before you start planting, or you should know it,
Yeah, but no pressure, because don't freak out.
Depends on where you live. You could feel a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, we don't want you to feel pressure, because really, it's as easy as it was when you were a little kid sticking a bean in a styrofoam cup.
Oh, Christy, what a nice thing to say. No, that really is a nice thing to say. Yeah.
Okay, Edith, are you sitting down?
I am.
I have some really sad news for you.
Christy, what? What happened?
We do not have mailbag this week.
No ring ring.
No. There is none. Because we didn't get any letters this week. I'm so sorry.
I bet we did, but they're stuck in the mail.
That could possibly be. Please send us your favorite gardening stories, your successes and your flops and your gardening questions. Otherwise, Edith is just going to sit and hold herself in a ball and rock back and forth because she doesn't get to say ring ring.
I know, because gosh darn it, we love hearing from you. You could write to us at upsidedowntulips@gmail.com or at our website at upsidedowntulips.com.
Yes.
We're always there.
Yes. So
And
please send us. Tell us about your garden plans.
Yeah.
Tell us something. Write to us.
Yeah. Make us stop sounding this pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so therefore, now, Edith, we
Yes.
need a moment of inspiration. Can you please give us some?
Yeah, okay. This is from Doug Larson, okay? And he says, life expectancy would grow by leaps and bounds if green vegetables smelled as good as bacon.
That's very wise and very true.
And I thought we needed a laugh to
Yeah.
close it out.
Everything needs to smell like bacon.
That
Well-
would be so great.
Oh my gosh, everybody, Thanks for listening to episode 26.
We are Edith Weiss and Christy Montour Larson.
If you enjoy Upside Down Tulips, please rate, subscribe, and tell a friend.
And special thanks to Janice Gentilini for composing and performing She Is a Genius, the Upside Down Tulips theme song.
If you want to hear more of Denise's music, go to denisegentilini.com or you can find that link on our website.
And don't forget, if you make a mistake,
your garden will forgive you.
Upside down tulips.
Rake me up before you ho-ho, hanging on like a yo-yo. Rake me up before you ho-ho.